All right, Alexander, we are here once again with Stanislav. How are you doing, Stanislav? And where can people follow your work?
Doing good. Just got back from Avdiivka, that area. You can follow me on X under Stanislav Krapivnik. You can follow me on Telegram. Stas Today Обратно is the Russian channel. Stas was there is the English channel, and on YouTube at Mr. Slavic Man. In fact, just uploaded a couple days ago all the videos from Avdiivka, or what's left of Avdiivka, anyways.
All
Yeah.
right. I will
So
have all of those. I'll have all those links in the description box down below. Alexander, Stanislav, let's talk about the military situation in Ukraine.
indeed, and I think we're now at an absolute decisive moment, and things are leading up very much in the way that you said. So Pakrovsk has fallen. Bild-Zeitung is admitting it. There's been attempts by the Ukrainians to pretend otherwise. We've had fake AI videos. Siversk, crisis in Siversk, crisis in Zaporozhye. You have been close to the battlefronts. You've been to where the big battles of last year took place. Even bigger, more important battles now. Where are we in the war?
Well, we're in that stage of the war where the ball starts rolling downhill, or rather, the snowball starts rolling downhill, and you're starting to see it's no longer a little bit of snow going down, and it's starting to pick up enough volume that you're noticing that I think there's an avalanche coming our way. As we see, yes, Pokrovsk or Krasnoarmeysk is officially taken. The attempts to counterattack and open it up have failed. Dimitrov or Mirograd. A lot of these towns have two names because they have the old Soviet name. Some of them have three names because they have the Tsarist name, then the Soviet name, then the new Ukrainian name. So it can get a little bit confusing. But Mirograd, we'll just call it Mirograd for now. That's basically just the southern portion is taken, that low one, two-story private area sector. The high-rise buildings in the north are being shelled. It's basically one giant graveyard. There's maybe 2,000, 2,500 Ukrainian troops still left alive or dying in that area. A lot of these guys are surrendering, but they're being droned by their own side if they try to surrender. So they have to kind of wait till the Russian troops come in there, assault through, and then surrender and hope not to get shot in the process. But the Russian troops aren't in a hurry to go in there because starvation and cold will do the job, and it's doing it. Now, that whole frontal area is opened up. There's basically 100-kilometer front from the northern edge of Gulay Polye all the way up to the southern edge that's surrounding Konstantinovka. There's about 100 kilometers that's basically undefended or very, very lightly defended. What we're seeing now is in that center section, the big fortified areas are gone. This is the last of the big fortified areas. You have one big set of fortifications up north. That's the agglomeration of Slavinsk, Kramatorsk, and Konstantinovka. Konstantinovka in the south from two sides is now invested, and there's battles going on in the southern third. Up north, Krasny Yaman is about half taken, and it itself is more or less encircled from the north and the northwest. I'm sorry, northeast. And the southern portion, southern third, has already been liberated. And that's going to just put pressure on Slavins from the north. So this whole area is collapsing. There's Gulay Polye is a prime example. The eastern defenses have collapsed totally. The Russian troops got through the last two fortified villages, covered the last about 5-6 kilometers to the town in a day. I have now invested eastern and central portion of town. There's even been a report of a full-bird colonel by the name of Andrei Kavoyev, who was shot by his own men as two companies of his men, or what's left of them, were trying to retreat. Rout is a better word. And when he tried to turn them around, they just shot him and kept going. So we see a total breakdown, at least in certain areas, of military discipline. And the thing is, as though running from Gulay Polye to Khotny is about 100 kilometers of open fields and small villages that you cannot hold it. So that whole area, it looks like, is about to collapse. Once Gulay Polye goes, and I'd say at the rate it's going, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks at the most, Could be even faster, depending. Morale, armies can hold, and then suddenly they break because you get that critical mass of morale collapse, and fear is a contagion. It's a faster contagion than any virus, and when it goes, and the one unit may be holding, and you've seen the units around it or parts of the units running, and they're going, "Oh crap, we're going to be left behind and dead. We're running too," and it just starts a ripple effect up and down the line, and men lose their minds once they become like animals. Their only hope is to save their skins, maybe save their buddy's skin, maybe not. A lot of the wounded have been dropped and left to die. Well, they get picked up by the Russian forces. They're coming through, and these guys are running away. And any army loses the vast majority of its troops when it starts routing. That's when the vast majority get killed in the process. Not when they're standing and fighting, but actually when they're routing, when morale breaks. And that's what we're seeing. And we're seeing two very large cauldrons. Well, one smaller cauldron, one large cauldron forming in Kharkov Oblast, in eastern Kharkov. Kupiansk is taken. The area between Kupiansk and Konstantinka, these names repeat a bunch of times in all these oblasts. So you got a pocket of maybe about 1,000 Ukrainians with their backs to the Oka River. And just south of that is a pocket that's forming with at least another 2,500, 3,000 Ukrainians with their backs between the Oka, where the Oka falls into the Serebryanka, and Krasny Liman is the southern anchor of that. And once Krasny Liman falls, that closes most of the routes. Try swimming across bloated rivers that have risen up because of the rains. There's no ice down there. I just came back from those areas. There's no ice in Moscow right now. It's been a very warm winter, so rain every single day. The rivers are up. The currents are high. Try swimming across that in ice cold water. You're not going to make it. Most of them won't make it. So there's these cauldrons forming, and that's the collapse coming.
Absolutely. Can I just say a few things quickly? I've had to deal with panic in many situations. I can't imagine panic in a battlefield, but you're absolutely right. If panic starts to circulate and take hold, it spreads like wildfire. It's absolutely almost impossible to stop or bring under control. That is one. Secondly, as I've discussed in many programs, I've been a walker. I like to walk in the countryside. Don't do it as much as I did, but you're absolutely right. Crossing a river in winter, swimming across a river in winter is absolute folly, especially with drones and missiles and men trying to shoot you. I mean, I can't imagine such a thing is possible. Retreating across open country in winter, in the mud, soggy conditions with the cold. Again, I mean, that's a horrendous idea. Nobody should expect soldiers in battle to try and do that kind of thing. Now, I want to ask you about two places. One is Siversk. There's been a lot of talk about Siversk. Julian Repke, who's from Bild Zeitung, says it was the most powerful position that the Ukrainians had across the entire front lines. He's probably wrong about that, but I wanted to ask you about what is actually going on in Siversk and what the consequences of the potential fall of Siversk are. And there's another place in Zaporozhye region that called Stepnogorsk, if you could tell us about those.
Well, I doubted Siversk was the most built up. First of all, Siversk is in Kharkov.
Right.
So it's in the northern portion. That wasn't originally a major area of the line. Most of the line that was built up over years and years was the Donbass. That was the LNR, DNR territories. And I came back from what was the biggest fortress, and it's gone. And it is. Avdiivka is going to have to be. There's still people living there. Amazingly enough, you go in there. It's been a little over a year and a half. Drones are still flying overhead. American equipment all over the place. I picked up. Well, it's ruined, obviously, but a plate for an American armored vest that's been shot in, and they're just lying everywhere. I check for mines and booby traps. I won't be a booby, but it's just abandoned everywhere. Most of the bodies have been picked up, except the ones that are really deep in the rubble that has to be cleared out. but that was the number one fortress. That was the point that was most prepared. You know, you have these 8 to 10 story, sometimes higher buildings. Some of these buildings are a wall. I mean, some of these buildings, especially, will go for maybe 200-300 meters of just building, right? And it's 10 stories high, and you have to clear every single room out of this because you don't know who's in there. And they would pour more concrete inside these apartments, force the people out, pour the concrete in there, especially the first 2 floors, so they could take more rounds before crumbling. And they don't really crumble that well. As a matter of fact, you have to use some serious ordnance to get them to crumble. Serious bombs. Direct fire artillery isn't going to really crumble them. Interestingly enough, it'll put holes in them. It'll blast out portions of them, but they don't go down. These are Soviet constructions that are just, it's hard to describe them. You look at them, it's like, how do people still live in these areas? But these areas, that was the number one fortification. Everything else, it was a shadow of it. And Avdiivka was taken. Now Pokrovsk was fortified, not as heavily fortified. Because remember, Pokrovsk was in the rear. And as we go further up into Kharkov Oblast, you're looking at fortifications that they mostly were pouring in the last year and a half, 2 years, in a frenzied effort, as they were getting hit too. Ukraine did something very, very stupid early on, and it's an incredible level of stupidity. And it's Zaluzhny's fault in this case, actually, not even Syrskyi's. When Bakhmut was in play, they decided to build the next line of fortifications behind Bakhmut. So they gathered 3,000 construction workers and engineers, brought in the equipment, started working on this new line, and then Zaluzhny had them militarized, conscripted, in other words, on the spot, and threw them in Bakhmut, where they all died because they're not prepared. They're not combat soldiers. Zero effort. And because of that, the rest of their line's having difficulty because they threw away their best construction workers for an extra day in Bakhmut, maybe. And this is the problem. Sieversk is falling. It's invested from the north. It's gonna fall. It's cut off from supply. So whatever they manage to hoard in those areas, when you say running across fields, if you've never ran across black earth, it's not a field. It is porridge at best. I've been through many brown mud fields where the boots are almost sucked off your feet and you're pulling up an extra kilo or 5 of dirt every time you take a step. This is a whole different level. It's a quagmire. And if you get rid of that top level of grass, by vehicles churning it all up, for example, no vehicle will pass. I mean, even Russian tanks with wide treads made for this kind of earth have problems getting across. Western technology, which had a problem back in 1941, and thankfully still has the same exact problem, narrow treads, they just sink into this. So soldiers running across it, they're not going to carry any heavy equipment. You cross, I mean, I've crossed 200 meters and you're exhausted because it's just sucking every footstep. It takes a lot of effort to pull it up. Your boots come off. It'll take your socks off your feet. And it's cold outside. It's +2, +3, rain. And trying to get across that is incredibly difficult. And if it's a drone coming, you might as well just sit down and wait for it because you're not going to dodge it. There's zero chance of dodging it. Especially, it's a hard thing to do on dry ground, let alone in this muck. I mean, it's quagmire. It's the word quagmire. It's almost like quicksand, except it's mud.
What about Stepnogorsk? What is the situation there? And why is Stepnogorsk important? Because it's been talked about even in the Western media, by the way. So tell us a bit about Stepnogorsk.
It's part of the Zaporozhye line, and the Zaporozhye line as a whole is collapsing. The problem with the Zaporozhye line, it really has only 2 anchors. It has Gulyai-Polye and the towns around it in the east, and it has the western areas. In the north of Gulyai-Polye is a very large fortified area line, but it's not that deep. It's well fortified, but it's not. It's anchored between Gulay Polye in the south and the Gorsk in the north. But once you get around it to the north of it, there's nothing there. And that's exactly what Russian forces are doing. They're going all the way to the north around it and then coming down the back end of it. And you just roll the positions up because they're cut off. There's no in-depth fortification. And past that, it's open steppe. It's open steppe straight to Zaporozhye city. And only there do you start hitting fortified suburbs and areas like that. And there's no place to hold. There's just absolutely no place to hold. So once this northern portion is breached, you can then invest Gulay Polye from the north. And that's what we're seeing happening right now. It's being steadily flanked and starting to get rolled up.
Okay, quick question about Zaporozhye city itself. I've heard it's undefendable, that it's all on the east bank, that if it's surrounded on land, communication across the river is incredibly difficult. Is that true?
Yes. I mean, okay, look, depending on your resources, anything can be taken. Depending on your resources, anything can be held if you got enough resources. So to say something's fully undefendable, well, no, you can't really say that if you have enough resources and logistics to hold it. Problem is you're right. Logistics have to go across a river, a swollen river. There is a bridge. The good thing about that bridge is Russia sure as hell is not going to blow that bridge up. It may shell, it may drone whatever's coming across it, but Russia absolutely does not want to take that bridge out because that bridge is absolutely necessary to exploit any movement into western bank of Dnieper River, north toward Dnipropetrovsk, south toward Nikopol, nice little industrial town. Been there, had a supplier there, or west into. Good Lord, what's the name of the town west? It's
Kryvyi Rog?
Kryvyi Rog, yes, Kryvyi Rog. Sorry, escaped me. Yeah, or Kryvyi Rog. On the one hand, you can't move toward Odessa or First Nikolaev without neutralizing those three because you got one directly in front of you and you got two flanking positions that you have to neutralize. But either way, you need to capture that side. The Ukrainians might try to blow that bridge. For them, that'll be something they'd have to do. So it'll be a fight for the bridge, landing special forces in the area, trying to hold the bridge or losing the bridge. All depends. But those bridges were Soviet-built bridges, and they were literally built to survive a nuclear strike. This is over-architectured, over-engineered buildings. That's why it was so slow for the Ukrainians to try to cut the bridges to Kherson. In the end, Russia blew them themselves. And it took a lot of effort to blow those bridges that were already heavily damaged. But they stood. They stood through massive amounts of rockets. But Zaporozhye city itself is in a flat area. Its back is up against the river. So yes, if you can surround it, and it's mostly open areas, you can take it. It's takeable. But from western Donetsk to Avdiivka is a great example. Now, western Donetsk is still being shelled, and even other portions of Donetsk are being shelled. I hadn't been 5 months in Donetsk. We drove in, and we're spotting new buildings that have been destroyed in eastern Donetsk. So there's still shelling going on. But between Donetsk and Avdiivka is about 5-6 kilometers of open fields. And that's where you get a good feeling for as you're going through this, looking at it. Having to advance through those kinds of areas is hard. Retreating through them is suicide. Advancing through them is hard because there's not that much cover. There's some tree lines. The best you could, and that would be under pre-drone conditions. Drone conditions, everything changes. The only thing that the big plus on Russia's side right now is this time of year. Because these areas suffer from massive amounts of fog. I'm talking the fog where you get about 3 to 5 meters of visibility ahead of you. That kind of fog, thick fog, heavy fog, and wind. Oh, the wind in those areas is very strong because of steppe. And right now it's rain. Later it'll be snow, but snow, wind, fog is the best anti-drone protection you could ever ask for. Drones are not stable. I mean, realistically speaking, any serious wind, 3+, 4+ meters per second, and the drone's already having problems. You get a wind going closer to 10, and they're gone. They're done. At least these quadro drones.
Yeah.
Fog, they don't even bother flying in the fog because they can't see anything. I mean, by the time you see a target, you probably pass most of your targets. You'll never see them. Rain also damages. If it's a gust of wind and heavy rain, it'll take a drone down. So that's the best weather. And this is the weather of winter in these areas. It's heavy fog, it's heavy wind, and it's rain or snow.
Last question, very last questions. Is there anything Ukraine can do to turn this thing around? Or are we now beyond the tipping point? You said that at the beginning it's rolling downhill. The ball is now rolling downhill. Is there anything Ukraine can do?
If I was commanding Ukraine, well, short of pulling NATO in, and that still won't stop the Russian army, it'll just prolong the war and cost a lot more lives on both sides. But short of, because NATO physically, you throw everything NATO has in it right now, including the U.S. military, and it won't stop the Russian military at this point. It just won't. There's not enough experience, not enough equipment for this kind of warfare. It'll make it a bloody slogging match on the levels of World War II plus. True enough, it'll cost Russia a lot, but it still wouldn't stop because Russia can out economy and out mobilize anybody in the rest of Europe. If we're talking about military mobilization, people with any amount of military experience, I'm talking from 1-year conscription to contract service, 32 million. That's what Russia can mobilize. Of course, you'll never mobilize that many because you can't feed them. You can't field an army that big at any time. Even the Great Patriotic War, it was, I think, 18 or 19 million was mobilized at any time. Now, logistics-wise, if I was on the Ukrainian side, I would be breaking to the other side of the Dnieper right now, trying to do a controlled retreat and try to hold. In the end, the Dnieper will follow. Also, the Dnieper is not even the Mississippi. It's a big river, but it's a river in the end of the day. And all rivers are fordable, including the Mississippi. And this is smaller than the Mississippi, quite a bit smaller. So, that would be the best time saver. But that's all you get is a time saver. Holding to the end in these positions, I mean, Zelensky's doing Hitler's bit. The only thing that saved the Nazis on the defense was that Hitler's generals just ignored his orders and maneuvered the troops out, which, by the way, why Hitler was changing generals constantly, because they wouldn't listen to him for his idiotic plans. Stand to the end. Okay, well, you get surrounded, you get wiped out. But that's what we're seeing the Ukrainian army do. Zaluzhny was the general Hitler would have loved. He follows orders no matter how many troops he loses to the last letter. But that's about all they can do. I mean, really, they are out of resources. They have 400,000 listed desertees, cases of desertion, 400,000. That's the combined armed forces of France and England. I mean, and that's just desertions. And the worst part is a lot of these desertions in the last 2 months, they're not newly mobilized guys. They're the veterans. They figured out that, I'm getting off this battlefield in one of 2 ways or 3 ways: dead, POW, or wounded, and maybe they'll evacuate me, or maybe they'll leave me to die. So maybe only 2 ways. Well, there's other option. I'm leaving. Thank you. Been fun. Bye-bye. 400,000 cases, and I'm sure there's probably more than that. So you're looking at an army that's in moral and physical collapse, and keeping it on the line of contact as much as you can is not going to solve anything. But thank God for idiots on the other side. That's all I can say.
Stanislav, that's excellent summary altogether. Thank you very, very much. And obviously we'll no doubt be speaking to you again soon, because I have a sense that things are going to start moving very fast from now on. Thank you indeed.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you,
Stanislav.
And maybe even Hodges is going to suddenly realize that things aren't as
Probably not. Probably not. Probably not. He will not realize, that's for sure. If there's one person that will not realize, it'll be Hodges. But anyway, Stanislav, before you go, where can people follow you?
On X, Stanislav Krapivnik. On Telegram, Stas Tudaya Обратно is the Russian channel. Stas was there is the English channel. and on YouTube at Mr. Slavic Man. Slavic with a K, not a C.
All right. Those links are in the description box down below. I will also have them as a pinned comment. Thanks, Stanislav.